What is up, YouTube? And today we're going to be talking about Liliam and why she is actually good in Inferno Rengokutsu. And I'll also be showcasing her in my team that I use for Rengokutsu Inferno. Now, basically, this dungeon is super annoying. There's a lot of RNG and stuff like that, and there's a lot of burst damage. And you're going to see that her kit actually works very, very well for this boss. Basically, there's a ton of teams you can also use instead of this one. If you guys want to see a more free-to-play friendly one, that will take probably more time to actually clear the boss, but it's still very safe. You can check my channel out, and I do have a ton of team comps for this boss. But basically, the team comp we're going to be using is the one that a lot of people like to use, where you use Kloss, Vice, and Ling Luo. And instead of Dieting, we're going to be using Liliam. Now, Liliam is going to be better than Dieting overall, I'd say, after extensive testing. Even though the damage is pretty comparable, Liliam's kit is actually a lot better for this boss, and it makes the runs a lot more stable, and it makes it so that your win rates will be higher because Liliam is way harder to kill over Dieting. Dieting kind of just dies randomly a lot of the times, but Liliam is pretty much not unkillable, I'd say, but it will be a lot harder to kill her. Now, I'm going to show you guys the setup. So this is my Liliam here. This is the lattice setup I have, and it's mostly for PvP because she is amazing in PvP, especially against control teams. And because of that, I did actually 5-4-5 her. I do plan to actually max her out, and once I do max her out, this S2 is going to hit a lot harder in PvE as well, so you have to keep that in mind. But basically, the setup we're going for is pretty much full damage. I like to run Momentum because we're running with Kloss, and then Fury after that's going to be the next best matrix you can have for the 8 matrix effect because it just makes you do more damage on crits. And then I have her on Swift Raid. Fury Edge works as well, but I found Swift Raid to be a little bit better, mostly because of the fact that you can cycle quicker, and this will allow you to get rid of that annoying attack debuff and also proc your Whale Prayer from your Ling Luo, which will allow you to heal more. So this makes it so that you can actually sustain a lot better. I have her on White Fang because White Fang is going to be the best in longer fights. This team is about like 320-ish, so that's why you do want to run her on White Fang. Count is also very good if you want to run her on Count. It gives you more sustain, but White Fang will end up doing more damage in longer fights because of the shorter cooldown and because of the stacking crit damage buff that you get every time this activates. Now, the reason why she's so good here is because she has an attack and speed buff for herself. Dieting can't actually do this. So even though Dieting's S3 will hit similarly to Liliam's S3 on the boss, the speed buff will allow you to cycle way quicker into your next S3 and just your other abilities. And the attack buff is also very nice in the case you get attacked down. If Dieting gets attacked down, he's pretty much doing 0 damage until it comes off. But with Liliam, when she gets the attack buff, you can actually still do damage somewhat. And because you're running with a Ling Luo, she can extend the duration of those buffs, and it's also 3-turn cooldown. And you're going to see with the build that Ling Luo is on, she's pretty much going to have Liliam permanently on this attack and speed buff, which is going to be amazing. Another reason why she's very, very good is because she actually has lifesteal built in. So Dieting kind of dies a lot on this boss randomly, and this makes it so that you can just lifesteal up and not die, which is great. And another big thing is she's immune to control and turn meter effects. So this boss has a very annoying passive where he will actually push you back, steal turn meter, when he's hitting you with the counter at affinity. So when he turns light, he can actually push back Dieting and also Liliam, but Liliam can't get pushed back, right, because of her turn meter passive. So that's great because when you're running Ling Luo teams, you actually need to have your character take a turn to heal because you need to proc the Whale Prayer. But Liliam doesn't get pushed back, so she can take the turn. She can heal up from Whale Prayer, which is going to usually have like 3 to 4 stacks on you, so that's a pretty fat heal. And you'll also be able to S1 if it's the ability that the AI decides to use because your S3 and S2 are on cooldown, and this heals a very, very significant amount. So it's also going to be a big reason why. Another thing is that silence is considered control. So if you're actually using Dieting, you can get silenced and then sit on your S3 forever because the silence is 2 turns and it's super annoying. But Liliam can never get silenced, so you're just always rotating your skills, so you just get a lot more damage out over the fight. So yeah, Liliam's pretty good here, even though you might not be that much faster than the Dieting teams or that much more higher win rate. It is going to be better, and I did test it out compared to Dieting. But Dieting is still a very good option if you want to use him and you don't want to go for Liliam because he's free to play and he does a lot of damage as well. Now, next up we have Ling Luo. She's going to be going first on this team. Basically, you need your S1 max. It's pretty much required because you need that extra healing. Boss does a ton of damage here. It's very overtuned. For your Matrix setup, you're going to run her on Swift Rush and Bloodbath. I don't really think Bloodbath is necessary, but I have her on Bloodbath. And then you want her on HP bonus pieces. I have her on an effect resist randomly because I don't know why actually, but I'm not going to change it because this is what I've been running with. But I definitely want to run her on another HP bonus because you just want her very tanky. When the boss turns green, it gets kind of scary even if you're on Bloodbath. So just having Bloodbath makes it so that you can't die, and if you have HP bonus, you can't die either. But I'm sure you could run her on Swift Rush and probably like something else and it works just as well. But for her shell, we have her on Fortissimo. This is pretty much required. The reason is because when Ling Luo's S3 and S2 are down, her burst healing is very bad, but Fortissimo is going to just full heal people that are below 60% when she takes her turn. And also because you have to build her fast anyways for this boss, it just works very well. And Fortissimo is even better in 4-man content over 5-man because there's less people to heal. This will heal for a lot more. She is also constantly overhealing with her Whale Prayer, so it stacks up very quick, which makes her very good. And like I said, you want her to be just pretty much as fast as you can. The reason is because at the start of battle, you can dispel the attack down and defense down or the silence and put up immunity. And this allows you to cycle very quickly to heal and dispel your team, which is going to be very crucial. Just missing like 15 speed on Ling Luo can tank your win rate. You're still going to win most of the time, but upping Ling Luo's speed will always increase your win rate. And that's going to be pretty much the way you increase your win rate in this team comp. Next up, we have our Kloss. So Kloss is our main debuffer. So I have her at 300 speed and S3 max. S3 max is very nice, but it's not really required. I think you only need it at level 3. I think the better one to max is actually S1 for PvE content in general anyways, because you just get extra bonuses on your hack-in by a pretty significant amount. Yeah, just like a lot actually. So I think S1 max is a lot better because you get extra effects of hack-in and you also get a lot of speed. But S3 is also very good. I think people will actually do both for PvE eventually. I don't know if I will, but the setup here we have is going to be just full speed and effect accuracy. You want her very fast because you want her to cycle very quickly to apply your debuffs and also push back the boss. And also you want her to go first on this fight. So I think the minions have like 290 something speed. I'm not really too exactly sure what it is. Maybe it's like 295 or something. But basically you just want her to go first. So I have her on Swift Rush and Swift Smite. And because you want her to cycle very quickly, you're going to also want to put her on Jackal Guard. You can run her on something like an Artisan, but I found Jackal Guard to be better because you get a speed buff. And this speed buff is pretty much always on you, even though you're faster than your Ling Luo, because Ling Luo will be extending this every 3 turns or so. So very good to have. This also gives you decent damage. Jackal Guard's damage is actually not that bad, and it gives you turn meter push. So I think Jackal Guard is the best. If you're finding your team is dying, you can switch her to Artisan and it might be better, but this is the setup that I have. Next character is also Vice. So Vice is also going to be on a fast effect accuracy build, just not as fast. You're going to want to max, he's an R character, and you're pretty much just going full speed and effect accuracy. So I did test him actually on Bloodbath, and I found that it's not really required with Ling Luo and also Kloss, because Kloss reduces the boss's damage and has speed down for the boss as well. So you can just run him on Swift Rush and then full accuracy, so like Swift Smite is probably required, and then Time Weave is very good as well. But really up to you. And obviously, you know, these stats might be hard to reach, but if you drop his speed by a bit, it's still okay. I think the lowest speed you can run him at is like 250, 245, and it's still fine. But similar to Ling Luo, if you increase his speed, you will get a higher win rate, which is why I pretty much put my best gear on him. And pretty much you're just running 2 effect accuracy with Swift Smite and Time Weave to reach that effect accuracy. If you don't have Time Weave, it is okay. Just make sure you have Gaze on your shell and you'll be fine. And yeah, you can see mine's not even the most efficient because I have flat HP, which is terrible compared to percent. And for your shell, you also want Jackal Guard on him. You can go Artisan as well if you want him to survive more easier, but I feel from what I've seen, Jackal Guard is better for him, especially in this team comp, because you're not going to really die to the boss. You're only going to die if you miss your taunt. So on this setup, the reason why I have him this fast is because he will have 2 chances to taunt the boss because he can lap the boss, especially when Kloss has speed down on it. which will increase the win rate by a lot. Of course, if you can't reach this speed breakpoint, it is fine. Your win rate will just go down a little bit, but you know, at least 245 speed, 245 speed should be good enough. So I'll show you guys the run now. Pretty simple how it works. You'll have Kloss go first, apply debuffs, and then Vice will go next. And basically, you're going to be able to do okay damage on the opener here. Not the highest, because this boss is very tanky innately. And that's about 20%, which is not bad. And we do have the speed buff and attack buff on my Liliam here. And Ling Luo will then dispel everything off with immunity. And basically, because we have 5 debuffs, it makes Momentum's value very good. And the only way you can really fail this run is if you get unlucky with some affinity timings, and then also if Vice just misses his taunt during those timings, which is why the faster you have him, the better, to make it more consistent. It's not necessary to make your Vice super quick, but it does make it a lot more consistent because in some situations, you will have 2 chances to apply your taunt instead of just 1. For example, if I miss this taunt here that he just did, you'll see on the turn meter bar, after my Liliam does another S3 burst, that he actually laps the boss with Jackal Guard, so he gets another chance to taunt the boss here, which is great. But you can see this team is going to have a pretty decent win rate here. And like I said, you know, Liliam, even though her burst on her S3 doesn't seem the highest when she uses it, just keep in mind that she is actually going to be able to cycle a lot quicker, which is the most important thing, and she can never really get silenced at all, so you don't really get screwed by RNG. Now, of course, we do have Ling Luo here to cleanse it off a lot of the times. But I really do like her lifesteal and also the fact that she can have the speed buff as well without having like Jackal Guard on her. So that makes it so that she actually heals a lot more because she cycles S1s more with her lifesteal and also will be able to heal with her S1 when it's available. And you can see Fortissimo value just makes the run very safe because she's able to heal. You apply debuffs again, and because my Vice is fast, you can see he can actually taunt the boss after S3, which just makes the run a lot more consistent if you can make him fast enough to do it. Not required by any means, but it does make the run more consistent. Like in that situation, my team wouldn't have died there, even if he didn't get taunt off. And you can see that is basically the run. And my Liliam is kind of the main star of the show, I want to say, because she did do it pretty quickly. But you could probably achieve similar results with other characters, I guess, if you build them in a different way, but maybe not as high of a win rate. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, though, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.